Yeah, so I did my master in University of Maryland from College Park in telecommunications. Before that, I was working actually with Tumul, studying actually with Tumul and Kashyap and Sumit and all of them, and started Stupidsid. It was called at that time. Um, did my bachelors from DJ Sanghvi in electronics and telecommunications. Gave my GRE and came immediately to the US and studied in University of Maryland at College Park in telecommunications. I graduated College Park in 2013. From there, I got a job at Qualcomm as a modem systems engineer. So I worked in Qualcomm for close to 5 years and on 3G, 4G, just the beginning of 5G and uh, different features on that front on the wireless side. And after 5 years, I recently moved to Amazon Music. So I am on the voice team for Amazon Music. That is the Alexa devices, Echo, Alexa, Alexa on mobile, Alexa on Fire TV, all the different Echo devices, and how Amazon Music is the biggest use case on all the Echo devices. So I'm on the voice team of that, basically debugging issues on how Amazon Music is perceived, how it's played, and how it's taken by the users, and what are the different aspects of it: speech conversion to natural language processing, machine learning, then how audio compatibility, the quality of the playlist you get, uh, and things like that. So that is my current role. It's just begun. It's been just a month, close to that, more than that, when I joined Amazon Music. So yeah, this has been the journey so far. I mean, I wasn't clear actually. So as I said, when I studied with in DJ Sanghvi with all of these Stupidsid folks, Sumit, Kashyap, everyone, and at that time I was confused and I had three options. One being continue and work with Stupidsid, do MBA in India like a few of my other friends did, and or come to the US. So I wasn't sure. I had just given GRE like that. I wasn't very decided that I want to come to the US. I just gave GRE for trying it. So, but I got good score in GRE. So then ultimately I just decided, okay, let's try this. It might be good. Otherwise, I'll just come back and see what happens. So there was no big drive or something to do masters or anything. It was pure. Because I got a good score in GRE, I thought, okay, looks like this should be good, so I came down here. So I took only the verbal coaching. I took KP Singh at that time. I'm not sure if he's still around. So maths I did on my own. Quant verbal I took KP Singh. It wasn't that helpful. I would say that it's easily possible to do it on your own because all you have to do is those flashcards, and you should be good. But I had taken KP Singh just for some guidance, but it can be done without coaching as well. Just do the flashcards thoroughly and go through previous year's papers, mock tests, etc. And that is more than enough to crack GRE. So I got 1420 at that time in GRE. I don't know what the current equivalent of that is when you convert it. So I probably asked around a few of my seniors and looked up online as little as I could find that which are good universities I can go from the score. Based on their suggestions, we didn't have a grad school finder or a centralized app or a database where I could get which universities I could go to. So I pretty much relied on a few close networking, my cousins or who are in the US, and as little guidance as you can get from personally speaking to a few of them. So I'd applied to around 10 universities. I don't remember all of them, but they're just being CMU, Georgia Tech, Maryland, Northeastern, Boulder, I think UCLA, USC, these being the major ones. And the admits which I had got were College Park, Maryland, where I ultimately went, and Georgia Tech, uh, and I think Boulder and Northeastern. Yeah. So these four were the admits which I had got. Um, I think for the program wise, Maryland was better than all of them, telecommunication program wise. Georgia Tech was good. Actually, I would have preferred Georgia Tech, but the admit which I had got for Georgia Tech had the first 6 months in Lorraine in France. And then from there, you move on to the US campus for the next 1.5 year. So that was a good option, but it creates some complexity based on your visa situation, because once you go to France, and then you move to the US, you get a J1 visa instead of an F1 visa. Then I wasn't sure how many years we can work on a J1. Do we get the STEM OPT and all those things on J1? I wasn't quite sure, and I did not want to be an outlier trying new things. So then I ultimately decided with a safer option of going to University of Maryland College Park for the telecommunications program. Oh yeah. I did take a. Oh man, I forgot the name, but it was very bad. The counselor. I'll probably send the link to that later. But the counselor was very bad. He was supposed to help me. Ultimately, I decided everything uh, opposite to what he was suggesting. He was suggesting me extremely hopeless universities, saying that I would not get anywhere. I don't know if he was getting cut from those universities, or I'm not quite sure why he was suggesting really bad universities. And he did give me a SOP and an LOR format, but they look too cliched. So I ultimately never used them, and I had to write my own. So yeah, please be very careful when choosing counselors. I had paid the money, and I learned the hard way that they're not very useful. So yeah, you can do without them if need be. No, my visa interview was very straightforward. Actually, there wasn't anything. They just asked me, why do you want to go to this university, and uh, pretty much that's about it. There were not many questions or anything at all. So visa interview was very straightforward. That could have been because I had previously traveled to the US a few times before my visa interview. I don't know if that helps or not, but yeah, the visa interview, there was no questions as such. Yeah, there wasn't a culture shock as such. First sem was mired in a few things actually. Uh, Finding an on-campus job is challenging once you go there. So I remember the first few weeks when I came to the US, I was traveling walking around university and walking in different departments and libraries to see if they have any assistantships or jobs kind of available for on campus. That was a little hard part. I had not expected it to be that bad, and plus it was the first time I was doing something like that, looking for a job, etc. But other than that, culture shock was not that much. Was pretty much good enough. Yeah. Plus, you have a lot of Indians over here who come with you, who are there with you, who have been there with you. So and they're always guiding you. So it's you have Tempa course and Indian associations pretty much in all the universities to offer help, so that there is no that kind of a shock reaction. I know of people, at least I when I joined university, I knew of people that like they had their seniors and they were in touch with them beforehand. And when they got landed in US, they had assistantships and jobs waiting for them. So people do that and they get good jobs like that, because when people mostly go from India, it's late in summer, like in around August time frame, and summer holidays start from around May June when the semester ends. So during May and August are maximum jobs and assistantships available in the university, because most of the students who are doing them have already gone for their few jobs or moved on to different universities, and otherwise people have gone home in summer. So during summer, beginning of summer, there are most number of jobs available. So if you go in August, late August, when your university is supposed to start, there are cases where like a lot of jobs have already been gone to who've come before, or who have seniors who are already working there and they've referred someone internally. So yeah, that is definitely possible. I did not do that because again, I didn't know that you have to apply for jobs beforehand. So I learned it the hard way, and I did not start finding jobs on the first day. Definitely, you can take a week. I took a week at least to settle in, get my bed from IKEA or whatever stores there, get my house in order. And once after a week, I think next week onwards, I started hunting for jobs. It took me around a couple of weeks to find a good job, but ultimately I did get a math tutor TA for a couple of courses. Oh, that is very. I mean, university websites. There'll be different websites. You go on online and apply, look for jobs, but not all of them will come like that. So then you have to just walk around the university in different departments and speak to the manager or the organizer who is there. I got a job like that. I was just walking around in physics department trying to see if there is any professor who has a research assistantship available. I did not want to do like a. My preference was not to do a menial job like library or in a restaurant or something like that. I was trying to get a job which was like a assistantship, math assistant type or a research assistantship. So I was mostly roaming around in math and physics and these buildings, trying to meet with professors and see if they have any TAs or RAs available. And after like few days of trying, at least I found a professor who had two classes he was starting, and he asked me if I knew those subjects. So I wasn't 100% sure I knew them, but I just told him, yeah, definitely I know these subjects. I've done this in my past. It was integration, derivatives, and few couple of other things. But so he did know there was no test as such, and he offered me the assistantship for that. Basically, I interned in T-Mobile in Seattle. So actually, I did not. I did a few mistakes in during that process. I did not apply to too many places for internship. T-Mobile was the very first place where I applied, and I got an interview call, and I took the interview, and it was the very first offer I got for internship. So I did not have to give any other interview, and I was pretty relaxed and complacent after that, which I shouldn't have been in hindsight. Uh, but yeah, so I had just given one interview for internship, that is in T-Mobile. I was in their voice over IP team, VoIP team. Where it was the first time the voice calling over Wi-Fi was being started at that time. We didn't have WhatsApp calling and things like that at that time. So they were, SIP calling and using those protocols over voice was starting at that time. It was a good experience. Internship in T-Mobile was a good experience, but I would suggest to everyone that do your best and try to get a very good internship. Like even in Google, Cisco, Apple, like any company you ultimately want to work for, try to get an internship there, because cracking an internship interview is very easy compared to cracking a full-time interview. And you will also, like me, realize this in the hindsight, that if you would have studied just a little bit for internship, you would have got an internship offer, and then that can be converted to a full time. But cracking a full scale 7 interviews is a little bit difficult compared to just 1 or 2 interviews at internship. And most of these companies do convert your interns to full time. So that's a very good path to get a full time, and easier path compared to finding a full time after you have graduated.
Full-time job.
T-Mobile at that time, T-Mobile had it wasn't offered to me because T-Mobile weren't sponsoring any visas for, like they were only hiring green card students at that time, or green US citizens basically. So I wasn't able to convert not because they weren't of any faults in myself or my work during internship, but the visa situation. And that's why I'm saying that I regret. T-Mobile is a good company, but it's not one of the best companies, like not those FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. I should have tried in a few more companies at that time during internship, and most of my friends who interned in Qualcomm or Google or Yahoo, they all got converted to full time, even Cisco. But T-Mobile did not do it because they do not hire. They were not hiring any other than US citizens. They were not sponsoring visas, which was required for all the Indians. So close to second semester's end, you should start hunting for internships. Yeah, second semester is the perfect time because you have after second semester ends, you can go towards your internship for 3 months. So job also, I was pretty much. I just applied during my fourth semester in the beginning. I just started my job process, and Qualcomm was the first company where I'd applied. And I got, actually, it's the second company. There was a small company in Maryland called Teleworld where I'd applied, and I got an offer from them in week one. And then I had applied for Qualcomm. At that time, Qualcomm was a great company to work for. They were bringing in 4G in my field. They were hiring a lot. So I had an on-site I had a phone interview with Qualcomm, and then I had an on-site interview with Qualcomm for I think 7 rounds, including two different teams where you're interviewed by pretty much everyone in the team, and it goes as high as the VP of the team of that particular organization who interview you. The interview process was good. It's pretty much when you're fresh out of school, they don't expect you to know too much on the company side, but they expect you to know what you have studied. So prepare that well. And so Qualcomm is a digital communications company. It's a company which is built on wireless fundamentals. So even though you can know coding, you know everything else, but your wireless and basic digital communication should be strong modulations, and all that you study in digital communications, filters, etc. Um, all of that will be asked, and you need to just not be prepared with your course content, but go back in time and uh, go dive deep in all of these subjects on why are these waveforms that way. I don't remember all of it now, but all the interviews in Qualcomm are heavily based on, at least my time, they were heavily based on digital communications. Wireless technologies was a mix of it and few of coding rounds. And then uh, I got an offer for Qualcomm. That was the first company, I mean, a big company which I'd interviewed for, and I got an offer. So after that, I actually stopped interviewing. It was like 4 or 5 months before I had graduated. I had only one course that was also a management course. So I actually pretty much relaxed for 7, 8 months, 4 months off during my last semester, where I had only one course left, and then 2 months before joining Qualcomm. Again, that was a good time for me to apply to other bigger companies, but I did not. So that's also when you can, even if you get a good job early on, that's a good time to go and apply to all the companies you want to work for and shouldn't be complacent like what I did. Qualcomm was actually my dream company because that's where because they were completely what field I was in. They were exactly working on what I wanted to work in. That was wireless communications, 3G, 4G, OFDMA, data rates, etc. So it was Qualcomm actually was my dream company back then, and that was one of the reasons why I stopped job hunting. But I think I should have explored a little bit more because I thought Qualcomm is the only company doing that. But Apple also was a good prospect at that time, which I realized a few years later that I could have joined Apple also if I would have tried, and that would have turned out better monetary wise. I think work wise, Qualcomm was still better, but as compared to monetary wise, Apple should have turned out better in that case. But work wise, Qualcomm was at that time my dream company. H1B process is very tricky. Actually, that's one of the big. I mean, I haven't faced that yet, but I know of a lot of people who have gone through that. That you don't get H1B in your first, second, or even third attempt. Um, I got my H1B in first attempt, so I was on OPT for 1 year because I got an offer pretty late, so they could not file my H1 before April for Qualcomm because my joining was late around June or something, and they said we've only filed for H1 after that. So I still had OPT, STEM OPT, so I was there for 1 year on STEM OPT. And after that, they applied for my H1 and I got my H1 in the first year. And then since then, they filed for green card, etc. And that has been approved. So you get infinite. I mean, right now I'm still on my second extension of H1, and you can keep on getting H1 extensions once your I-140 is approved, the first stage of green card. But I have known a lot of people who haven't got their H1 in their first, second, or even third attempts. Few of them have had to go back to India. Few of them have had to take courses in some universities, kind of shady universities, not so good universities, who you pay another 30,000-40,000 to join the university, and then you get OPT from the first day, and then probably you can continue to work. But those are all riskier alternatives. I've known of people who are in, if you are in a good company, a bigger company, like for example, a colleague of mine in Amazon was also the same problem. But if Amazon has offices in Canada and UK, etc., so they send you to those offices during that time. But if you're not such a bigger company who does not have offices outside US, and if you do not get H1 in your 3 attempts, it is a difficult situation. I mean, you have to definitely go back or take up some university, shady university over here, etc. There's been a lot of rhetoric, definitely. A lot of people are scared a lot. I have known that people are getting a lot of RFEs in their H1 extensions also. Basically, all the administrative part has been clerical part, and administrative part has become difficult after Trump has come. He's proposed to stop H4 EAD, where green card spouses are not allowed to work once that goes through, which was an Obama era regulation which had come in. It's still in challenge in court, so if that happens, it will be a big setback for the Indians. But other than that, I'm not too sure if there are any. I mean, people who are applying for H1s and seeing their approval and rejection rates will know better how to answer this question. For me, I've been just reading it about online and whatever comes on Twitter, etc. So there's been definitely a lot of rhetoric. But H1 extensions have not been a problem because I just got my H1 transfer, etc. done. That has been okay. But from what I've heard is that there's been a lot of administrative and clerical process, and that's become cumbersome. They've been asking for more documents for H1 approvals. Fresh H1 rejections are also on the rise. If you're, is that what I've read? But again, that's the best. The question is best asked to someone who is new to this process, who is currently applied for H1 or currently applied for a visa. I do not have too much insight into that.